know. We are the show. You want to know. It's time to talk to you.
All right, folks, welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. That's right. If you haven't already caught on to that, we're here Wednesday as well as Friday and Monday. So Friday, Wednesday, Monday, 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. Still here on Sunday morning, 6 a.m. So no problem there. Your Sunday morning talk block is intact. All right, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. We're live streaming on the TuneIn app. Don't forget that. If you don't already have it, seconds to download. And once you punch in WCRN, do me a favor, hit that like button, that favorite button. And it's so easy to pull us up in the future, and you can take the station with you anywhere you go, 24/7. 508-871-7000. All right, streaming on my social media platforms, all those are at Joe Mangi Show, M-A-N-G-I, Joe Mangi Show, Facebook, Twitter. You can also check out the YouTube channel, LinkedIn page, and even Twitch TV at Joe M Show. All right, folks, a lot to talk about. I got to tell you some. First of all, we got to acknowledge for all of the ultra mega nerds out there, right? May the 4th be with you. Today is being May 4th is, for some reason, it's the Star Wars thing, right? May the 4th be with you. So if you're kind of a nerdy, geeky guy, good for you. Go for it. All right. So in the last, not even 24 hours, because I guess it was about 9 o'clock last night, right? It comes out about this draft that's leaked from SCOTUS. So there's a lot of layers here, folks, that we got to talk about. First of all, the leak itself. The leak itself is a crime. There are federal statutes that address this, right? Stealing documentation, leaking documentation. So there's no gray area here. It's a crime. But we see the Democratic Party and the left. Have you noticed they didn't even use the word leak? They're calling it a report about even President Biden. Well, I haven't got a good chance to read the full report. This isn't a report. This wasn't something orchestrated or called for by the United States Congress or the president's office or SCOTUS itself. It's not a report. It's a stolen piece of information, a stolen piece of paper, document taken from the Supreme Court. That doesn't happen, folks. Right? Everything else, right? White House administrations, they leak like a sieve. Congress leaks like a sieve. Leaking is actually a strategy in politics. Is it not? We saw Hillary Clinton in her campaign, along with certain FBI people, leak documentation in order to achieve certain things. False documentation, leak false things to give it credibility, leak stuff to the paper so they can turn around and look at the paper or that article and say, well, that's another verification to the FISA court. James Comey sat there in front of Congress, and when he testified and said, no, I leaked it to this professor of mine to make sure it would get out in the paper. But that doesn't happen in SCOTUS. It doesn't happen with the Supreme Court. And for obvious reasons, for very good reason. Look what's happening. When you get down to it, folks, this draft that was written in February isn't even worth the paper it's written on. It literally isn't. It's a draft. It's like somebody doodling on a piece of paper. If you really just think about it, it's a draft that could never, ever make it to the light of day as a decision. It could be revised 20 times. It could never even see the light of day. It's so irrelevant, but boy, was it a good, arrow in the quiver. Oh, look at, folks, the shiny object over here. Let's distract you. Right? We can look at this in a few ways. Once is what I think part of this was, and I'm going to talk about this for a second, and that is, this gets leaked at 9 o'clock last night. And hours later, there are signs and protest signs and organized demonstration at SCOTUS in the morning. What's up with this? When did you make those signs? Is there a secret rally demonstration print office in the Capitol we don't know about? Is that what Kamala Harris got confused about when she said Kinko's? She didn't realize that the print office wasn't a Kinko's. I mean, I don't know, but they seem to be very prepared very quickly for this demonstration. So part of this is if they fear that at some point the decision comes down that affects Roe versus Wade, and let's put a pin in what that means in a second. Now they're going. What do they think they're going to do? They're going to intimidate the court, make them change it. I mean, this isn't something we haven't seen. Remember Chuck Schumer, right? Not too long ago, when he stomps on down to the Supreme Court and he threatens them, right? There's already talk about court packing again and term limits, and Schumer threatens him that they are to rule the way he wants or else. That in itself, that I think he should have been removed from office. He should have been impeached on that alone for threatening another branch of the government that way. It's despicable behavior. But this is the attitude that we find among the really progressive left. Think the way we do, rule the way we want you to, vote on the legislation the way we want you to, or else. Or else. And they never accept a loss. If they lose a court case, they got to threaten the court. They got to change the court around and make sure that they have people who are activist judges that will rule the way they want them to rule, right? If they lose an election, something was fishy there. Stacey Abrams still thinks she's the governor. It's okay for her to do that, but you're out of, you're a criminal if Trump says it, right? But now we see that they want to change the election laws because they want to make sure that they can get the right people in office. So that brings me to item 2 of this shiny object as a distraction. For those of you who may not realize it, and you may not even know of this movie by De Souza called 2,000 Mules, released today. The special release yesterday, but it's released today. It's in some theaters. It's also on platforms that cannot be canceled or taken down. De Souza's been through a lot, as we know. So when they created this movie, made this movie, they made sure that they had these safeguards in it. Now, this today's show isn't about 2,000 Mules, but I'll give you the bird's eye view of what this is and why this is so important and why it would make sense that the powers to be on that side would be very interested in distracting you from the release of this movie. So 2,000 Mules is a look at the 2020 election. And it looks at, quite frankly, voter fraud. And in the big picture, right, we know these arguments and we get it. The left would say there is no voter fraud. The right would look to a few examples of voter fraud. Well, wait a minute. Here we've got this person who's voted the last couple elections, have been dead for 10 years. And we've got this person who voted in 3 or 4 different places. We've got, this person who doesn't live there anymore and they're on the rolls. And we know, right? Even some of the cases of stuff in the ballots, we had some clerks get in trouble. So we pointed to a few legitimate, that's voter fraud. Then the argument is, all right, well, yeah, there is some voter fraud, but not enough to change the election. Doesn't really matter. Well, first of all, I have a problem with the attitude that any voter fraud doesn't really matter. I think we should have zero tolerance for voter fraud. Far too important. But that aside. So they say, well, you can't control these elections on a large scale basis. Even Barack Obama said, look, you can't hack an election because we don't have, in this part, right, we do not have a big election. We have 50 small elections that go into the Electoral College, and then they're the ones who actually vote in to select the president, by the way, right? We know this, or you should know this. So that can't happen. So 2,000 Mules said, something's not right. When this was all happening, how many times did I say, for those of you who listen to this show for years, if you take the 30,000-foot view of this and you're looking at it like that, something's not right. Numbers don't make sense. The areas where the numbers kind of came out for Biden, it shouldn't have worked in those numbers. It's something, you can't put your thumb on it, but something's not right. So what they did with 2,000 Mules, or one of the many tactics that they used, is actually your GPS and your pinging. They bought, because you can do this, right? Brokers, there are list brokers and look broker. You can buy all kinds of data. That's what the whole big concern and argument about our privacy and data and what happens when you're on Facebook and how much they monitor you, and Google, and how do you know, you walk into the mall and all of a sudden you get a notice on your phone that there's a sale at the store that's about 20 feet from you. What? Well, with today's GPS and pinging, I mean, they can actually get you within 12, 18 inches. Think about that. That's how accurate this can be. So you can actually buy raw data if you'd like, and just say, give me all the cell phone data from such and such a date to such and such a date. And they went and bought all the data. And they had a grant for this apparently, but they bought all the data because it's not cheap. I owned a telemarketing company. I used to buy phone numbers from a phone broker. And they were scrubbed and all that. But they bought all of the cell phone data from the beginning of early voting down to the election date, right? So they had this massive amount of data in all these phone calls. And if you remember, one of the things that they did was they put out these drop boxes, these voter boxes, which I was telling you back then, folks, yelling from the rooftop, this is the stupidest thing you can do for voting. It is the most unsecure. There's nobody monitoring. Most of them don't have video cameras. What is stopping somebody from walking up or driving up at 2 o'clock in the morning and putting hundreds, if not thousands, of ballots into it? And that's exactly what was happening. That's exactly what was happening. So now these things that were put into place for the election, because of COVID, they actually want to make a permanent type of thing now, right? Well, that should never happen. But we are coming up to a break. We got to take a quick break here. First break of the hour. We'll do the break. We'll come back on the other side and we'll continue. 508-871-7000, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. And again, it's a cold call thing too. So I'll be answering it myself.
Hey everybody, Ryan Maloney here from It's the Liquor Talking, letting you know that you can hear us Saturday mornings at 11, but also at our new time, weeknights, right after Howie Carr at 7 p.m. It doesn't stop there. Randall and I are going to stick around and host North Star Music after the show. So join us for New England's only show about wine and spirits, and then pour yourself a glass of your favorite adult beverage. Enjoy Randall and I as we listen to your favorite music on the North Star.
93% of adults listen to the radio each week. Of those exposed to radio ads, over half made a purchase. Despite how often the media reports on newer forms of advertising, it is, in fact, free broadcast radio that most effectively reaches and truly influences customers. Radio allows you to place your company's message directly to the radio audience for 30 or 60 seconds. And it's a gold mine. Radio advertisements are more memorable compared to written and visual ads. It's just this simple. Sound is stored more effectively inside memories. Reach over 90% of this market's potential customers with your radio message on WCRN Full Service Radio. Call station manager Chris Thompson at 508-870-5803, extension 222, or visit WCRNradio.com.
WCRN gets results on radio.
Hi, this is Jerry Doherty, host of Making Money Last. WCRN works for me, and it will work for you too.
WCRN gets results on radio. Call 508-870-5803, extension 222. That's 508-870-5803, extension 222. Or visit WCRNradio.com.
This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show. We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to Joe.
All right, welcome back here to the second segment of the Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. That's right, folks, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays at 1 o'clock, and Sunday morning still at 6 a.m., 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. So let me just finish the thought on that. So 2,000 Mules released today. They bought all of this cell phone data, and they said, okay, give us before the early voting started through Election Day. Fine enough. Well, think about that. I mean, we're talking millions of cell phone pings and data there. And what they decided to do is they looked for people who stopped at a Dropbox location 10 times or more. 10 times or more. So if they went there 9 times, it's not even in the data. So there's far more than 2,000. That's why it's called 2,000 Mules, if you didn't pick up on that already, obviously. 2,000. So there's more than 2,000 of these people. And these people, well, where do they come from? Who are they? They're employed by a lot of these NGOs, these non-government agencies, right? These political action committees, these other things. That's who they get employed for. Look, this is your job. Here's your route. You're going to go around to these boxes, drop boxes, and you're going to put this batch in this one, this batch in that one. Makes sense, because remember back when they found the guy got in the accident and there were thousands of ballots, right, from New Jersey, and he was in the wrong state. Like, how does that happen? And why do you have thousands of ballots that don't belong to you? It's actually illegal to have more than one ballot. In the ballot you're in possession of, it can only be your ballot unless you're an official of the clerk's office, or you're police office, security, transporting the stuff. But just for a citizen out there to have to collect a bunch of ballots, it's not supposed to happen. So they looked at all this cell phone data, and they filtered it and said, give us the phones that visited Dropboxes 10 times or more. And they ended up with 2,000 people doing this. Now, if you are by a Dropbox once, that's fine. And because it's going to register how long you're at that location. Remember, 12 to 18 inches. So you're right there at the box. And it knows how long you're there for. And if you're hit a couple times, no, I was walking by one box. I turned out, tied my shoe. I was walking the dog. Dog's doing their business. Whatever. You can explain that away. But how can you justify going to 10 or more of these ballot drop boxes in the middle of the night, one after the other? And that's what the data shows. Hard data, real data. This isn't conspiracy theory. It's not a theory. This is what actually was going on. And they came up with 2,000 people who were going to drop boxes, being at each box for several minutes, getting in the car again, assuming they're in a car, because they go the speed of a car to the next drop box. Oh, my goodness. So this is a really nice, convenient distraction from the opening day of this incredibly informative and, as far as I'm concerned, telling and mind-blowing film. So there's another reason that this is leaked at this time. And the person who leaked it is no hero. This is a political move at the cost and risk of the integrity and security of the Supreme Court of the United States of America. And we'll get into how many people have access and what their staffs are and so forth in a moment. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Let me jump to the phone. I think Ken first. Hey, Ken, welcome. Did I lose you, Ken? You should be on there. Let's try it. Ken, are you there? Ken? Hey, Ken. Why am I not getting Ken? Telephone line.
I'll try it again.
Oh, there you are.
Okay.
Where'd you go?
Oh, you just didn't connect, and then I guess you finally did.
Huh. I thought you would connect. I haven't touched you since you answered, but okay. Hey, what do you got on your mind?
Well, you're really finding it easy to connect the dots these days. It's just how corrupt the left and the
Oh, we haven't
Democrats
even
are.
begun. I mean, I'm not even close to done here. This is crazy. This leak last night. And it's not a report. Oh boy, did that aggravate me when they started referring to it as a report, as if this was something that was expected and legitimate. It's not legitimate at all, and it's a crime.
Joe, do you know what I find important? I happen to be listening to Tim Pool. He has his URL and he has his panel, and I think I picked up from listening to him like 15 minutes after it broke, because I like 8:45. And if you get in that opportunity, dig into the story as fast as you can, and you'll get a lot more facts inside of a half hour than you will the next 10 days.
Oh yeah, because it gets sanitized and done. Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
every time, folks. Whenever a story breaks, pay attention to a lot of the first stuff that comes out before they're able to coordinate and decide what their story is and what the spin is. Absolutely.
Because I'm kind of suspicious of what I first heard. The vote's 5-3. So let's see now. And it seemed pretty clear that, yes, Roberts hasn't decided. He has said he's going to agree with the Mississippi law that was passed, but wasn't necessarily wanting to trash Roe v. Wade. And that makes me think if, in some way he or his group, let's put it that way, may be in some way involved in this. One would hope not, but, he may be just testing the waters because he doesn't really want to be the one to take the risk. He's definitely a coward. So if he can test the waters in some way and then figure out if he's going to make it.
Are you suggesting that Roberts might have leaked it himself?
Well, I'm not saying directly. There's never, if he had any hands in it at all, there's no way you're going to find out. Let's be serious, because it's under his domain. He's going to cover it up one way or another. He may go through the whole, I had a marshal look into it, and no, they just couldn't find anything. Because I don't really think they're going to tell us. Somebody might find out who did it, but they're not going to find out.
All right.
But also on the Dinesh story, I don't know if you had a chance they compared. They took it to a next level in 2020, because in the past they've been caught and they've actually found fingerprints. So you know what they did this time? They all wore gloves. What a coincidence!
Oh yeah, they did, but the data is there, and
Right.
how they did this was ingenious, and there's so much more to it. But the point of me bringing up the 2,000 Mules today is it's a great day to have a big thing blow up in the news and have attention off of this. Huge day for that. So there's actually a stacking of some reasons here, right? Because also we have inflation. The White House wants to stop this conversation about inflation in the southern border. So they really would like something in the news cycle. And when you think about it, there's really the only news there, folks, is the actual leaking of a document from the Supreme Court. The document that was leaked is a draft from months ago, which means nothing if it's not the actual decision. Because when a decision comes out from the Supreme Court, all of the justices agree with everything in that writing, and if they don't, then they issue their own. And this piece of paper, or it's not even a paper, just the info on it, the decision, I guess, Alito, it's nothing. It's nothing. It's not law. It hasn't changed a thing. So it's nothing. It's not worth the paper it's written on until it becomes a Supreme Court decision. It's nothing. but it gives the left an opportunity to fire up the base. And for what is supposedly or looks like going to be this incredible tsunami red wave in a few months, they really do need to fire up the base. And it's not even about changing that. It's just diminishing the losses as much as they can. So if they can get 6 months of yelling and screaming that Roe versus Wade could go away and we have to elect progressive liberal judges and senators and Congress people, we got to do this. You gotta admire the move on a political way a little bit. I mean,
yeah, but it's gonna backfire, Joe, like everything has the past 15 months, because it really exposes the whole fraud on the issue.
Well, that's 100%.
If you start to read, I know it's not law yet, or it's not, been issued, the 90-plus page Samuel Alito, and by the way, he is the best thing that George W. Bush ever did, because that 90-plus pages, I've heard excerpts of it, and it is brilliant. It is
interesting,
a foundation of the conservative movement going forward.
Yeah,
what has been accomplished, if it does actually become issued.
And the other thing on this, folks, it does not make abortion illegal. It just throws it back to the states, where many thought that's where it should have been the entire time. But Ken, I got to hold you there because we're against the clock and we're running out of time. But folks, 508-871-7000. I know there's another call in there. I'm going to hold you through the break, because if I took you on now, it's like 20 seconds and you'd be done. So do that again. The decision, by the way, this is a throw it back to the states. Let each state deal with it, because many have thought that's where it should have been the whole time, and that they overreached originally on this to begin with, right? So the whole thing here is let the state decide. They'll do their thing and keep it local. Now, the other thing is, so the idea that abortion be a constitutional right, that never made sense with me, and it didn't make sense with a lot of people, because there's also a third party involved with this, and that shouldn't come into play, not like the First Amendment or the Second Amendment. So that's all this does, right? And when they do rule this, by the way, there are 20 states with trigger laws already in place. And a trigger law means that if this rules like this leaked document says, then those 20 states have laws that go into effect addressing abortion, and it could be everything from right out illegal to changing the expected dates. We'll talk about the polls as to when an abortion, how far into a pregnancy could that be, or should that be allowed. All right, that will wrap up the first half of the Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show from AM 830 WCRN, 508-871-7000. Join the conversation. Back in a moment, folks.
Time now for the forecast from the Boston Independence Group Weather Center. Call Jerry Doherty today at 877-772-1776. Retirement is within reach.
I'm meteorologist Sherry Spear, and here's the latest Boston 25 weather on Radio 830 WCRN. I hope you're used to those clouds and occasional showers, because that is basically the setup for the rest of the afternoon, everybody. Temperatures will be stuck in the 50s, so it's also just going to feel kind of cool and raw out there. Showers eventually come to an end as we ease into the evening hours tonight, and then tomorrow we're going to be back on track with sunshine and temperatures in the 60s and 70s. Again, that is for Thursday. I'm meteorologist Sherry Spear, and you can hear Boston 25 live for the morning drive weekdays on AM 830 WCRN.
Chris Thompson here, station manager at WCRN. I need salespeople. If you're retired or a stay-at-home mom looking to make a few extra dollars, this opportunity is perfect for you. Work part-time, set your own schedule. It's fun. We provide the training you need to succeed. The only thing better than listening to Howie Carr is selling Howie Carr. If you're outgoing, not afraid to learn new things, and would like to earn some extra money, call me at 508-870-5803, extension 222. Stop making money selling radio.
WCRN is an equal opportunity employer.
You're on your way home and you get the call. We need milk. And how about some snacks to watch TV tonight? Where do you go? No matter where you are in Central Mass or Metro West, you can find what you need at a Yatco Food Mart. Not to mention great gas prices. You can fill up the gas tank and get all your snack needs as well as milk and all at competitive prices. That won't empty the wallet. Yatco Food Mart, serving you best for over 25 years. Yetco.
Talk about real estate, mortgages, and the economy on the Drew Mortgage Show. Weekdays at noon on Full Service Radio, AM 830 WCRN.
This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show. We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to you.
All right, welcome back to the second half of the Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 and WCRN. You can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. Topic right now is the leaked SCOTUS document, which was a draft of the Mississippi case on abortion that was written back in February. It's nowhere near what we could see, what the decision is that will come out. It might not come out at all, and I think part of leaking it and causing all of a sudden these miraculous demonstration with these beautiful signs all ready to go and stuff. It's pretty interesting how quick that can happen. And they're out there in front of SCOTUS and raising a lot of noise and even threats to SCOTUS, which, by the way, now security is coming in, and I'll get into their staff and stuff in a moment. And maybe this would, what, you think you're going to scare justices to rule your way? Because Chuck Schumer certainly threatened them to rule their way. He wants them to rule. Someone should tell him, if you want to be on the Supreme Court, then lobby for that position. You're a member of Congress. Keep in your lane. You jamoke. Stay in your lane and stop threatening other branches of government. 508-871-7000. Let me go to the phones. Hey, Mark.
How are you? You hear me all right?
I hear you great. Fantastic. You look marvelous.
You look marvelous as well. As the perpetrator of the Supreme Court drafts leak been apprehended yet?
Not to my knowledge, but I've been in a studio for a few hours.
Don't hold your breath.
I wouldn't even think of it. Yeah. And they're no hero, Mark, right? They're no hero. They're a criminal. This is the left.
They're not a hero. They're a criminal. Exactly. They should spend 5 years in the lockup.
Yep, I agree.
They're found guilty.
Absolutely.
If I was in the military and I did that, I'd do 5 years at least in Leavenworth. I can guarantee you that.
Oh, absolutely.
I'd be breaking the little ones out of the big ones for at least 5 years.
Yeah,
guarantee it.
No question.
When I was in, I don't know what the candy ass military is like now, but when I went in, forget about, man. I'd be so far in back of the lockup to be feeding me with a pea. Anyways, so you got 330 million plus American citizens. How many people have access to these drafts? How many people have access to the Supreme Court building?
Yeah, I'm going to go over those numbers.
You think that would narrow down the list of potential suspects significantly, wouldn't you? What's taking so long to catch this person?
Yep.
Who's conducting the investigation? Is it the FBI? Is it the U.S. Marshals Service? Who is it? We don't know.
Yeah. I'm actually going to go over some of the numbers of their staff and how many people have access to this. This is something I plan to go over, Mark, because I'm telling you, he orders because by the way, in case you folks didn't know it, the Supreme Court has their own police department, by the way, and they have these marshals and so forth, and he's directed the head of the marshals for.
You're a private investigator, right?
Yep.
You've been one pretty much all of your life.
Pretty much.
Based on what I just told you, list of potential suspects, people who actually have physical access to these very sensitive drafts. It wouldn't take you long.
No.
I guarantee it, for you to narrow it down to a very few people.
Absolutely not. Because you would
Have
have
a good one, my man.
All
Have a
right,
good
thank
one.
you, Mark. And just carrying forward on what Mark says, right? You have you have a very limited number of people who have access to it. The first thing you're going to do is figure out your pool of people who have access to it. Now, one of the problems with this is you've got the IT department. A lot of people forget about that. The IT department, they have access to everything. Those are those guys and girls, right, that keep your computers running and your internet up and your email working, and you're able to send documents to each other, or you if you're the Supreme Court, you have group chats and shared document files, because they obviously are going to read each other's decisions and so forth. But the IT department that keeps all of this up and running has access to everything. And for all of you in corporate America, you may have found out, and maybe not the pleasantest way possible, that everything you write or look at, meaning browse on the internet, is all recorded and can be seen by your IT department, and on that basis can be reported to your bosses at any given time. So, unpacking this Supreme Court leak a little bit, again, this is the decision that they're looking at. It's the Dobbs versus Jackson's Women's Health Organization. And it was raising questions as to the profound ethical breach. That's not the point. The leak is the point, right? And this is, of course, in response to Roe versus Wade, 1973. Well, this kind of breach is basically, it's unprecedented. There was actually, the irony here is the closest thing to a breach or a leak that the SCOTUS might have had before was actually Roe versus Wade in 1973, but not like this. And leaks are very rare because of the confidentiality. It's so important to the court's work. And everybody gets that. Everybody understands that. And they usually do put the fear of God in their staff, especially the law clerks. The law clerks have complete access to everything. Heck, they're doing the research and a lot of times writing some stuff up for the justices themselves. So Supreme Court clerks, they get six-figure signing bonuses to go to large law firms when they leave there, right? That's the level that they have of access and respect in the industry, the law industry. You clerk for a Supreme Court justice, you can write a ticket a lot of times. So they look forward to these great careers. And if you caught linking, hey, think about that. Six-figure sign-up bonus, 500, 6, somewhere many hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to start to work for these big firms. Are you going to jeopardize that? Because if you get caught leaking, that probably goes away. And it's a firing offense, of course. Now, if word leaks out about a business case, those who get the word early can make millions trading on stocks, right? That's another reason why they take this confidentiality so seriously and important. Think about that. Talk about insider trading. If you knew how a Supreme Court's decision was going to come down on something, then you know how the business community is going to react to it. And any leak disrupts the court's internal deliberations. Votes can and do change as drafts are circulated. That's my point with this, folks. This was written in February. It's worthless. If it wasn't leaked, the decision that they say they let out in June might not even resemble this at all, because they changed their drafts. And what does this mean going forward? Well, no doubt, there's a trust issues going on here. In each chamber, there's a justice. There are 4 law clerks, 2 secretaries, and a chamber's aide. Plus, the chief gets an extra law clerk. Plus, there is a print shop. And I don't know how many employees are there, right? A print shop, but they obviously have an in-house print shop. You're not sending this out to a print shop, anything that they're writing. So obviously it's a secure in-house print shop. I don't know, and I couldn't find out how many employees are there. But we're already close to about 80 people with regular access to the drafts. So they're all suspects. Plus, there's a lot of other employees, right? Custodial staff. A lot of people never think about that. You throw something away in your mind, you threw it in the wastebasket, it's done. It's out of your head. As far as you're concerned, it's gone. You threw it out. But in actuality, you didn't throw it out. You just put it in another place. That's all you did. Unless you shred it or burn it, that's all you did. So you got those 80 people plus these other things, right? Custodial staff. You also have the security staff. Security people in these cases, they pretty much are able to walk all over the place and never challenged because they're the people who do the challenging. And they have keys and card keys or whatever to everything they need to for safety and fire reasons, right? So you got the security staff. You got the clerk's office. You got the press office. Yeah, of course, SCOTUS has its own press department, doesn't it? Of course it does. We do not have regular access, but they might have stumbled upon a draft on a desk or something, right? Or again in the trash can. You never know. Now, it might have been one of those people because there are surely more recent drafts than February 10th, right? So you have to think about that as an investigator. Why am I going to release a draft from February if I have access to updated versions? Then you have to ask the question, well, if they do, whoever leaked it has access to later versions, did they decide to leak this one because it would be the most upsetting version? Because they know that it would cause the biggest outrage, right? So they leak that draft. And the more recent drafts have all changed. It might not even resemble that. Because there are surely more recent drafts in February 10th. And if you're one of those 80 regular people access to those drafts, why wouldn't you leak something current? Right? And one of those possible answers is that it doesn't answer the question that you have. You want to put it out there. And then you have to ask how much do drafts or opinions change? Well, that can be a lot, folks. That can be a lot. So this is no accident on the timing. They figure that they have enough months before the midterms to rally the base, get them foamed up. It draws attention from 2,000 mules. It does a lot of things. We'll continue with this on the Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Back in a moment. Stick with us.
Dr. Satya Mitra has journeyed from a childhood of poverty and homelessness to a successful career as a financial advisor, motivational speaker, and community leader. Now inspired by his guru, he uses his experiences to positively affect the lives of underprivileged people. We strive to house our blindness, poverty, homelessness, female empowerment, and good citizenship initiatives within the Joy Guru Humanitarian Center. If you wish to contribute or know deserving persons or initiatives that could use our assistance, please contact us at 508-641-8441.
Chris Thompson here, station manager at WCRN. I need salespeople. If you're retired or a stay-at-home mom looking to make a few extra dollars, this opportunity is perfect for you. Work part-time, set your own schedule. It's fun. We provide the training you need to succeed. The only thing better than listening to Howie Carr is selling Howie Carr. If you're outgoing, not afraid to learn new things, and would like to earn some extra money, call me at 508-870-5803, extension 222. Stop making money selling radio.
WCRN is an equal opportunity employer.
Expert Agents Realty is a family-owned real estate firm with offices in 2 locations, Northborough and East Longmeadow. For 25 years, Mark Toomey, the owner-broker of Expert Agents Realty, has focused on providing buyer and seller clients the highest level of service in the industry. A licensed real estate broker, Mark has sold hundreds and hundreds of properties for clients in the Metro West and Worcester County areas, specializing in residential sales, single-family condominiums, multifamily homes, and land. Working with all types of buyers and sellers, including first-time buyers, retirees, investors, and builders. Being a full-service broker means handling every aspect of the buying and selling process, working with a team of local lenders, attorneys, and other industry professionals to help ensure a smooth buying and selling process. Call Mark today at 508-393-3383 and put the power of experience to work for you in your search for a new home.
This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show. We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to Joe.
All right, folks, welcome back to the fourth and final segment of the Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. And I'm solo, so there's no producer. If you call, you're just going to hear some clicks, and then me just probably saying, hey, who is this? But 508-871-7000. Don't forget, we're always live streaming on the TuneIn app. And by the way, you can go to Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, all these platforms that we carry these shows, past shows, as a podcast. Or you can go to SoundCloud and just and check them out there, just as an aside. So this leak from SCOTUS, which is unprecedented, and it was done by somebody, and we got to figure out who that person is. And if they don't find out who this person is, that is very telling in itself, is it not? And this person, whoever he or she may be, they're not a hero. They're not speaking to truth or power or anything like that. They broke the law. They jeopardized the integrity of SCOTUS. They need to be prosecuted, and they need to make an example of this person. Right? Now, the question here, and again, I started the show out saying, this draft that was leaked is meant for all this. It's meant for the noise, the signs, the protests, the threatening, to fire up the Democratic base to try to negate some of the losses come November election. There's a lot of reasons for it, and I think part of it is absolutely taking attention from the release of 2,000 Mules. But my point is, it's useless. It itself, right? The information on that is absolutely useless. It has no value whatsoever, and it doesn't mean a thing because drafts and opinions change. And they certainly change over months. A justice may say that, I'll sign this opinion if you add something or take something away. Or dissent may attack, something in the opinion. And the opinion writer may add something in the rebuttal, right? This goes on and continues through multiple rounds. Some opinions seem to be negotiated, sometimes between conflicting views that a couple of the justices might have, right? And when it comes to the result, occasionally a justice may change his or her vote based on that back and forth, based on what they're supposed to do. Debate and argue. They're lawyers, after all. That is their purpose for existence, is to argue the law. So an opinion that started out as a majority loses a vote or two and becomes dissent. And I would guess that the votes on Dobbs are pretty firm. But they have to ask who might have leaked this. Because whoever leaked this, you would think would have to be an internal person. That political operatives would be not impossible, to get a copy of this old draft, but it certainly would be easier from someone within the walls of SCOTUS to get it. It might have been someone who is pro-choice, outraged over who did it or did it in a fit of anger. But I don't think this is something that was leaked in a fit of anger or just I'm really, pissed that this is the argument, because I go back to the fact that it's from February. And why doesn't that person then have access to newer versions and drafts and arguments? Is that the only one that they had? So that would mean it's more apt to be a mistake, something that got picked up and wasn't destroyed properly through the trash or left on a desk or fell somewhere in the print shop. You see what I'm saying? A lot of different things there, or the other explanation can only be that that's the draft they wanted, because it's changed so much since February that it wouldn't get this result, right? Wouldn't get the reaction that it's getting. So it's probably more likely to be somebody on the pro-life side hoping to lock in votes for the draft. But you can't take out the fact that it's a good distraction for a failing administration, and it changes the news cycle and it changes the discussion, because they don't want us looking at, what is it, 8? I wrote it down. It was like 8 point something inflation rate, right? So we're hitting ridiculous inflation rates. What's going on at the border? The support for Title 42, 63% of people polled want that to stay in place. Only 27% want it removed. Now, Title 42 is just a tool that's always been there, folks. Wasn't created for COVID-19. And that is one of the things that actually does come under the CDC. But the CDC has been so busy overstepping their reach and their authority with mortgages and other things that we kind of start to lose track of all that. Okay? But Title 42 is just this little health thing. What should really be happening is the immigration laws and the border security should be enforced. This is what always kills me when they start talking about we need border laws and we got to write some, reform and so forth. How about we do this? Why don't you actually enforce the laws on the books for, say, 6 months and see how that works out? It might surprise you, but that's the problem. We have a commander-in-chief who took an oath to the Constitution, to the sovereignty of this nation, and to protecting the borders, and aren't doing that. And Mayorkas, he's not doing it either. And come January of 2023, he could be facing a lot of problems with his job and his position. So, leaking this document serves multiple purposes. Now, we know that according to the poll, 63% of Americans think abortion should be allowed, but the debate comes in on the circumstances and the time, right? That's the big question with abortion. And I got to tell you that the left has only themselves to blame for pushing the abortion issue to cases like this, because when you start talking about these late-term abortions, day of abortions, remember that was an issue in a race a couple of years ago? Was it the New Jersey governor? I mean, we're talking about a viable life. A baby, the day a baby's to be born, to abort it, that is murder. I know that's going to cause a lot of controversy, but You can't convince me that isn't. And then when you have this, what they call extended abortion, right? That up to 2 weeks after the baby's born, you can still abort. That's just absolutely crazy. But folks, this is actually going to wrap up the Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. Sorry about that. Be back, of course. Hey, tomorrow morning, Political Thursday, Friday at 1 o'clock for the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN, and then Sunday morning. Check us out on, tjmshow.com. Good morning and welcome to Case Files from the LPDAM, where we take a look at the lessons from actual cases, the law behind the findings, and where we share the experiences of the experts of the Private Detectives Association of Massachusetts. Joining us this week is Sean Burke, current president of LPDAM and resident manager of Social Justice Advocacy Project and author of industry-related books. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Joe.
How you doing? Good to be back behind the microphone. Summer is right here at the threshold of it. And actually, believe it or not, what I'm thinking about is digital world. The digital world is part of everyone's life today. How does that fit in to the private investigative world, though?
Joe, you are right when you say the digital world is part of our everyday lives, and it can capture a wealth of true information about us all. There is no getting around it. The private investigative industry has evolved into digital forensic businesses that gather and analyze data to help formulate the truth on a specific matter. LPDM members are all good at this. Several of our member businesses actually have digital forensic labs that are capable of extracting everything and anything from a digital source, like a cell phone or a computer. They are also capable of identifying where something is being sent from, like an IP address, which identifies a sole source. Like a fingerprint, it belongs to one person.
Wow, Sean, that is impressive stuff. What goes into a digital